Hello and welcome. I'm your strategic planning project facilitator, Brennan Coomer, and let's talk about our CPP Tech Hotline strategic planning project. So, as you know, we are all here talking about this plan because for the last year or so, you've been building the plane while flying it, which is a fancy way of saying that your program, the CVP Tech Hotline, was built as a very reactionary approach to a problem that existed. Thus, enter our strategic planning project. So, strategic plans help make sure that we have a clear path moving forward. So, part of the strategic planning process is figuring out where do we want to be in the future, and that's developing a vision statement. And as a result of that activity, we develop the following vision statement for the CVP Tech Hotline to help foster a commitment to deeper learning for all by providing technology support that is universally designed, accessible, and timely. We develop our path for the future, but there's a couple other things we need to do before we just start making progress towards that ideal future state. There are several questions that we sought to answer through the technology evaluation. What communication technologies are currently available to CVP hotline staff to provide support? Are there certain things that technology can or cannot do? How do the technologies support the District Instructional Guiding Framework, Universal Design for Learning, or UDL? What translation or multilingual supports are available for stakeholders, considering we do have ELLs who are enrolled in the CVP platform? Where are there gaps, and where are families turning for technology support if they don't get their questions answered by the CVP Tech Hotline? And lastly, how often are the technologies used or frequency of use? There were several different methods that we used to collect this data. We reviewed CVP equipment purchase reports, the CVP hotline request log, which shows a record of every single request made to the hotline and how it was handled, individual interviews with CVP hotline staff, observed hotline staff at work, UDL technology evaluation rubric, and then also reviewing any web filter trends that show what common technology troubleshooting terms are being searched and where the answers are being sought. Only 2 items have been purchased for the hotline, a phone account and a headset. The evaluation findings also showed that families and support is more often to take place over phone conversation rather than email conversation. Language assistance continues to be something that happens frequently, about 1/5 of requests. And then there's also some other pieces here as well. Like I said, there's no two-way translation available. We learned that from observations and interviews. There's no tools to support translation. The tools that are being used are just free ones the employees have found. Providing support in multiple languages is time consuming. And then phone and email modalities are nice, but they're limited. The UDL rubric showed that the current technologies, both phone and email, score very low out of a score of 100 on that rubric. And that the web filter results show that families are often turning to multimedia rich options like YouTube, as well as a knowledge base option like the Google Help Center to get their technology questions answered. So now that we know what our current state is, what are some of the needs? What are some things that we know we absolutely have to address moving forward? So here's some of the questions that we sought from our needs assessment phase. What challenges or barriers currently exist for the hotline? What do you wish the CVP hotline had? What would be an easier way to do something? And lastly, what additional features are needed to make the hotline more accessible and UDL for all? So to collect this information, we used a digital needs assessment survey in the format of a Google form that was sent to email, nominal group technique with CVP staff, including teachers and the hotline staff, and then individual interviews with the 3 CVP hotline staff and the CTO, Nick Williams. The needs assessment results indicated that we have efficiency needs. There needs to be some type of notification, away message, and status system for both CVP staff and the requesters on the status of their request. There needs to be real-time accurate translation requests and supports, as well as a live option, whether it's chat or video, for providing efficient support on the spot. There needs to be options and better representation of tech support. So giving more than just phone and audio, giving options that are in multiple languages, giving visual options, video, chatbot, some different resources there. And additionally, there needs to be interaction with tech support options too. So language support, two-way translation, as well as different ways for communication to take place. So the next step is we've identified needs, we know what our current state is. How do we overcome those gaps to where we can meet those needs and address some of the issues we saw earlier? So some of the gaps that are there are language support, as noted already, options for representation, including some different ways for people to have content presented to them, as well as different ways for them to interact with the hotline, and then efficient ways for hotline staff to manage the requests that come in. So the solutions that were developed through the action plan include software options, purchasing Zendesk, which is an all-in-one ticketing system that provides an AI chatbot, as well as integration with Zoom video conferencing and a knowledge base. In addition, we decided to acquire Zoom, which has video conferencing, audio, text-based chat, and the ability to screen share to provide more flexible representation as well as interaction. Lingmo, which is live translations of captions and text-based chat in Zoom. Help Juice Knowledge Base, which is already a part of the district, but just not been given to CVP hotline staff. So giving them licenses so they can create their own library of CVP-related technology troubleshooting guides that can be integrated with Zendesk. So if a person asks a question to the chatbot or in the text-based chat, they can get a self-help resource shared with them automatically. And then lastly, Screencastify to help create some of those self-help guides. Additional hardware items were also on the action plan to be purchased, as well as facility changes. There's a spare office at CVP that could be adjusted to be a CVP hotline office, so everyone has one central location to work and to create some more unity between all CVP staff members. With this office being converted, there needs to be 2 additional monitors purchased, keyboard and mouse combos, as well as two-way translation tools called the Pocket Talk Plus. Staff development is also key. You can purchase new technology, hardware, and software systems, but they're only as good as the people know how to use them. So it's important to offer some training. The staff development is a big focus of this particular strategic plan to help make sure that staff members know how to provide support adequately with the new tools. Thus, that is why there are lots of options available. The plan proposes that there is a Zendesk certification training purchase for all of the staff members, which includes 10 plus Zendesk certification courses, a certified trainer coming on site and providing a workshop one afternoon, as well as onboarding webinars. The other tools also include onboarding webinars, and the CTO has graciously offered to provide on-the-spot Zoom trainings and one-on-one help as needed. The plan for the project also includes coming under the project budget. This budget was developed in conjunction with the CFO for BCSC, who decided he wanted to offer additional funds for this particular project so it could be used as a model for the redesign of other BCSC operations and customer support systems. Now, the action plan timeline. So while these steps and ideas sound great, nothing ever goes far if you don't have a plan and a time frame for doing so. This specific project is anticipated to be implemented over a 3-year time period, with the biggest event and really areas of change happening in the first year. December is when the items would be purchased and the facility would be converted to the CVP Tech Hotline space. January through February would be when there's a lot of heavy staff development taking place, training on all the new software tools and hardware tools, 1 training per week, as well as the purchase and enrollment in the Zendesk certification courses. March 2022 is when all of the hardware and software should be used in place on the hotline when interacting with student and parent stakeholders. And then April through October is really using these new tech tools, ongoing staff development and webinars provided by the CTO, and completion of Zendesk courses. So ultimately, in December 2022, the staff members have earned their Zendesk certification, and we can do full-scale implementation moving forward and continue to do this, and really continued staff development is needed from there. So while these steps might sound great, it won't go very far if we don't have a way to check our progress along the way. And that's where the evaluation plan comes in. This particular plan puts in a couple of different benchmarks and ways to measure if the steps of the plan are being implemented correctly and if we need more time for different phases. The methods we're going to use are a Gantt chart, weekly status reports and meetings, quarterly review of hotline request log data, quarterly individual interviews of the 3 hotline staff and the CTO, and then quarterly digital surveys of hotline performance. And the evaluation timeline is very similar to the action plan timeline. December is when you begin those first status report meetings and the CTO develops a Gantt chart. January and February is when status report meetings continue to really check in on staff development and making sure that it's ongoing. The CTO will begin updating the Gantt chart every 2 weeks in this phase of time and sharing updates with his boss, the operations director. And then from March through April and May, there's a lot of repeating events over and over again. March is when all of those quarterly methods of assessment for the evaluation plan are going to take place. April and May is going to be weekly status reports again, Gantt updates, and then information with the ops director. And those phases actually alternate month by month by month until the whole project has been implemented. And there is some room there for adjustment as needed. That's why these phases are built in. So I spent some time here talking about the strategic plan. Let's get started.